I was sitting here trying to think of what to draw, and I was thinking back of when I was younger. I would always find these snails and these slugs, and where I lived, there was a lot more insects, larger insects than the ones where I live at now. Currently, where I live, it gets a lot colder, much, much colder than where I used to live when I was younger. But I would go out, I would find different insects and bugs. I would put them in jars, look at them, draw them. And one of the things that inspired me to do this drawing was the times when I used to do that, when I would just go outside and look at different insects and bugs. But now there's not really that many where I live. Most of the insects that I see are very tiny, and it's usually the ones that we don't want around, such as flies, mosquitoes, or cockroaches, or the types of little insects that try to get into our food. But this doodle that I'm doing here with the 0.35 roaching isograph did end up looking like some kind of alien snail or a type of slug creature. And I just kept adding my usual random abstract doodles and aimless designs around it. And then I added into that creature. I drew in a little friend with him. And this one kind of looks like, so far, maybe a snail or a slug that doesn't have a shell. And I can't remember, do they all have shells? Or do they have to find themselves one? Sort of like the crabs in the ocean. Do they have to go find one? Or are they just born with one? I can't remember. If you know, do let me know that, so that if I do any drawings of these, I don't draw them wrong. And when I used to always catch these bugs and stuff, I would put them in little jars. And these were jars that we use from eating various foods. And I ate a lot of pickles, and I would always have all these pickle jars, and I would put bugs in them. But what I would do is I would wash and rinse out and clean the jar. And these were glass jars, and I would take off the labeling tape around it. I would soak it in water for maybe 15 minutes or half an hour. Warm water with a little bit of soap. And then I would just rub my hand against the sides of the jar to get the label off of it. And then I would rinse it again in warm water. I would dry it off, and that would remove the smell of whatever was in the jar. And then I would put the top of the jar on, which was also rinsed and cleaned. And I would take a screwdriver. Had a couple of different sizes, and there was a time where I only had one screwdriver size, but I would poke it through the top of the jar, and I would move the screwdriver around to make the hole at the top larger. And depending on what type of bugs I put in these, that would determine the size of the holes at the top so that it couldn't get out. Especially if I was catching different spiders I would put in the jar. And this helped them get some air. And I was always very careful if I ever caught any spiders and put them in jars to make sure that there was many very, very tiny holes, lots of them, and I didn't want to have any large holes so they could escape. I didn't want that running around, and I would put them in there, and I would catch some slugs and snails and sometimes, and I'd give them a little habitat to live in. And then after I'd have them for a while, maybe it could be just a day or a couple of days or maybe a week or two, I would then take the jar outside, release the insects, and let them go on and live their lives happily in nature. But maybe they were happier there and safe. You'd never know unless you asked them. But hopefully you're doing well, and hopefully you're doing lots of doodles and enjoying them also. I'm going to go do more doodles myself, and I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Talk to you later.